Dr. Dan, I'm from Northwood Health Center, but I want everybody to stand up right now. Because we are going to be sitting for a while, and I want you to be warmed up prior to it. So I want everybody to put their thumbs on their chin. And leaving your thumbs on your chin, I just want you to rock back and forth about 20 times. Just to get some blood flow into those muscles that are going to be sitting. And this is something that I encourage everybody to do as soon as you wake up in the morning. Anytime you're going to do an activity that you haven't been doing in a while, if you're going to go drive to the beach and get some clam chowder, or if you're going to go up to Seattle and watch the Mariners lose, anything that you're going to do where you're going to sit for a long time, you want to do some warm up for those muscles. All right? Now you may sit. Everybody knows that stress has, something to do with our health. Everybody knows that it's relatively bad, but not everybody knows how devastating it truly can be. So now the doom and gloom part of the story is going to come around and make everybody worried. Yesterday I talked a little bit in our staff meeting and talked about, what our food consumptions are doing, and Dr. Steve's like, oh my goodness, now I can't eat this. So I don't want this to be doom and gloom. I want this to be awareness. Okay, and so one of our goals at Northwood Health Center is to raise our awareness, raise our being, global society on health and wellness. Because as you'll find out, health and wellness has a direct effect on our tolerance to the world and our tolerance to each other. And if we can start tolerating the world a little bit better, we can have a lot more harmonious life with each other. Whether it's our spouses, our neighbors, our next door community, another country, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're going to look at somebody and we're going to realize they're the same as we are. We're not better. They're not better. Let's all get along. And so that's one of my goals globally. All right, so has anybody ever publicly spoke before? Anybody else? Max? Bruce, you have? Good. Bruce, do you want to do this?
Sure.
They say that out of all the fears, public speaking is number 1, and death is number 2. So if you were at a funeral, most people would rather be in the casket than give the eulogy. When I was younger, I had a lot more energy than I have now. And so in college, there was this ad in the paper. So for the young people, the paper was what Craigslist was. And there was an ad for a job, and so I needed a job. And all it said was, need energized, enthusiastic, person. I'm like, well, that's me. I'll go. And so I go, and it was the Oregon Zoo. And the Oregon Zoo back in the 80s was not doing very well. And so they needed to fill their gorilla tank. And they said, we just need you to put on this gorilla suit and just walk back and forth in the tank. I'm like, all right, I'm in. And so first day on the job, I go and it's a pretty big tank. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And so, I'd walk around, I'd start doing gorilla things. And I realized that the more I did, the more people would come. And the more people would come, it'd give me more energy. I'm like, well, this is awesome. Well, I had one of them trapeze things. And so I jumped on the trapeze and I was going, and I'm like, that's awesome, people would come. And so I started getting good at it. I started building my muscles up, and I'm like, I gotta get really good at this. And so one day, and it was a pretty packed day, and I'm on the trapeze, and I'm going as high as possible, and people are coming over and looking, and they're just woo and ah, and I'm making my woo, woo, woo. And I finally go so high, I let go, but I went too high, and I actually landed in the lion cage.
Oh, Jesus.
And the lion perks up, and he's looking at me. And now I'm losing it. I'm like, whoa, help, help, help. And the lion gets my attention. It starts coming at me. And I'm like, help, help. And the lions keep coming at me. And I'm like, help. And he's like, shut up, stupid, or we'll both get fired. That was stressful. All right, what we're going to discuss tonight. What is health, okay? What is health? Because not everybody understands what health is. And so we want to make sure it's relatively clear, because when we give our classes at work, we'll ask somebody, hey, were you healthy before your car crash? Were you healthy before your work injury? And they're like, yeah, I was healthy. And one of them may be on 12 different medications. One of them may have just had heart surgery. One of them may be 350 pounds, but they thought that they were healthy because they weren't injured. We want to be able to recognize what a stressor is. Okay, people understand stress, but most of the time people think it's a mental stress. You know, somebody's yelling at me, my boss thinks this deadline's due, you know, things like that that are, you know, the tension things, the traffic jams, the price of milk, Donald Trump, you know, those type of things. But we're going to learn that there's more things to what stress is. How do we react to stressors, and not consciously? Okay, we're going to talk about the physiological reaction, the body's chemistry, you know, what is really happening even on a cellular level. What are our options? Okay, what can we do once we recognize what our body's going through? Simple hacks to achieve the essentials and improve our resilience, and what is necessary for health. By the way, those were supposed to go in a different order. All right, so how do we really know that we're healthy? Okay, so I want to ask anybody in this audience, how do you know if you're healthy?
No idea. Wake up with them. No aches.
No aches, okay? So, I don't have any pain. Okay, what's another one?
Wake up in the morning, you're ready to go to work.
Okay,
Stopping.
so if I go to work and nothing's stopping me, right? So I can do what I want. I can do what I want, so I must be healthy. Okay, anything else? What does the doctors tell you? Okay.
Exercise.
Well, no, what do they tell you? To say, hey, you know, according to this, okay,
Blood pressure.
our lab values, our blood pressures, our measurements, okay?
No.
Well, if those are within range, I must be healthy. Okay, well, it's not entirely true. World Health Organization, okay, so this is a global thing. It's not just America, this is globally. This is what they say. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Okay, so what's that mean is it's not just because I don't have high blood pressure. It's not just because I don't have an aches and pains. It's not just because I can go to work and nothing's stopping me from going to work. I literally should be having a complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Everything should work as instructed. It's a pretty lofty goal. And it's fairly difficult to attain because of health, habitat, lifestyle. All right, so are we really that sick? Okay, a lot of times we're like, well, if that's what health is, you know, are we really sick? Yeah, we're really that sick. So this is back in 2009. Okay, so it's been 11 years since this. And 50% of the population at that point already had chronic disease. What's a chronic disease? Heart disease, cardiovascular, cancers, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesities, mental health, okay, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. 2/3 of the population overweight or obese. 25% don't eat enough vegetables. 70% don't get enough exercise. In fact, 24% doesn't do any activity a day. Okay, so I mean, we're starting to see a pattern. Diabetes increased 61% in 10 years. 38% of the adults have high blood pressure. 40% has glucose intolerance. Okay, what's glucose intolerance? That means when I eat something that's got any sugar in it, my cells will no longer respond to the insulin. So, anybody got a big brother? Okay, a couple of big brothers. My big brother is pretty mean. And I love him, but he's pretty mean. He was pretty mean. And so, think about your favorite meal and you ate a ton of it. Okay, and you can't possibly put another bite in your mouth. But now, your favorite dessert comes out. What's your favorite dessert, Abby?
Anything orange.
Anything orange. And this anything orange dessert comes out. And you love it, but you know, I cannot take a bite. Okay? That's how full you are. your anything orange dessert is not tempting enough to make you eat it. But Big Brother comes along and says, Effie, and shoves it down your throat, makes you eat it. Okay? That's what insulin does to your cells when you have sugar. Because we rarely have too little sugar. We always have too much sugar. And so Big Brother insulin shoves it into each and every cell until the receptors of that cell can no longer attach to insulin. Okay? And so the next time something orange comes around, insulin comes around, and it's like, oh, there's a block. I can't get it in you. You are too stuffed. You are overstuffed. You are now glucose intolerant. You can't react to the sugar you're having, which means that it's free floating, which means it's spilling out of your liver. And your insulin is free floating, which means I can't burn fat. And insulin irritates every cell. Heart disease, 37% of all deaths. Lack of exercise responsible for virtually every case of cancer, or poor nutrition, Okay? Prescriptions, okay, that's what everybody wants to do for it. And it doubles every day, the amount that you take per person. 76% of Americans, 76%, okay? So if we have 20-some people in here, that means 15 of you are on medications. I don't know if 15 of you are on medications, but that's a big percentage. 25 million pills every hour, okay? Who makes money on that? All right, so we have some important questions now to ask, because this is what it's all about. When you go to a doctor, when you go to a restaurant, when you decide whether or not to hit the snooze button, you get to ask a question, okay? Why are we so sick? And how do we get and stay well? Okay, you have to ask the questions, because many times the questions we ask when we go to the doctor isn't the right question. Their question might be, how do I lower your blood pressure? Your question should be, how do I get healthy? It's a totally different question. All right, so biological laws, okay? Biological, we have to think of the biology. We're living, breathing organisms. We need to follow our biological laws. So the states of health and illness determine the states of our cell function, okay? So every single cell function is what determines our health or our illness. And cell function is determined by genetic expression, okay? So genes are your blueprints, okay? So let's say all of us are similar enough that if we were to build a house that looks like Dr. Dan, that house is going to be really similar to what it looks like for Dimitri, okay? And so we all have a relatively similar blueprint. Maybe his house is taller with nicer hair, but we're all pretty much similar. But when I go to build my house, maybe I'm cheap and I just want to use, cheaper materials. And Dimitri wants his house to be standing pretty long. And so he puts in quality materials. And when we're done building the house, maybe they look relatively similar. But over a period of time, mine's going to start cracking and showing wears and tears. My plumbing's going to start failing, my electricity's going to start failing. And eventually, we're going to recognize that my choices to make my house with lesser ingredients is negatively affecting the health of that house. Okay, so our genes are the house. How we express the genes is the choices we make. All right, whatever determines our genetic expression determines our health and illness. Okay, what is required to create genetic expression of health and avoid genetic expression of illness? Okay, so we're one of God's animals. Okay, if we're an animal, we have biology. If we have biology, that law to us applies to every one of us. So the laws to make Dr. Dan healthy are the same laws to make Bruce healthy. Why are we sick? There's a direct relationship between our habitat and our lifestyle and the expression of our genes. Okay, so now we have to look at where we live, what we're exposed to, and ultimately what is our choices. Okay, the choices are the things we get to do something about. Where we live, we may not be able to do something about. They literally took ants from every continent, and every single ant had plastics in every one of their cells. Okay, so right now, it won't matter where you live. You got plastic in your cells. Okay, so those are things we don't have choices over anymore. So now we have to be even more diligent of the choices we have to make, whether it's drinking water versus Coke, whether it's, drinking or eating a salad versus pizza. All right, health is determined by our health, habitat, and lifestyle choices. This makes it simple, right? It should make it simple. We control our lifestyle choices, what we eat, how we move, and what we think. Biological laws are defined by our species type, which means that if I'm a human, you're a human, we all have the same essential ingredients. If I'm a giraffe and you're a giraffe, it doesn't matter which continent you live on, you have the same ingredients. If I'm a wild elephant in Africa or a wild elephant in India, I'm going to eat the same things. I'm going to have relatively a similar lifestyle if nothing else is influencing me to do something different. If I'm a deer in Oregon versus a deer in Utah, I'm going to have very similar requirements. Okay? We don't need to say, well, I live in Orange County, California, so I'm only going to eat sushi because that's what we eat. Or I'm living in Portland, Oregon, and I only drink microbrews. Okay? It doesn't work that way. That's not our essential ingredients. We have things we're required to have.
Just real quick on that.
Go ahead.
On that last slide about how we think, feel, and interact. That's what makes everyone unique. Is that those, at least the quality of thinking and feeling, because everybody is thinking differently or
Absolutely.
acting differently.
Yeah.
So I understand we all think and feel, but we're thinking and feeling differently.
Correct. And so let's go into that. So all of those can be relatively different. So if I'm in China or I'm in Oregon, my access to certain foods are going to be completely different. Okay?
Okay.
Vitamin C is an essential ingredient. Okay? If we don't have it, we'll die. And if I'm in Florida, it's really good to get vitamin C out the backyard because I can get lemons, limes, and oranges anytime I want, all year long, basically. If I'm in the North Pole, where's my oranges? Where were my oranges 10,000 years ago when Walmart didn't exist? They got their vitamin C from seal skin. Okay? So how you get your essential ingredient doesn't have to be the same. You just need the essential ingredient. Okay, same thing with how we move. Okay, some people exercise, some people they just work hard all day. Okay, the people that are healthy are not the ones that sit all day. And then how we think, we'll talk about that, but you want to be relatively positive. Okay, you don't want to dwell on negatives. You don't want to have worry. We weren't genetically designed to worry about the future. We're designed, as all other animals to survive. But we have created this prefrontal cortex that allows us to think about consequences. And when we think about consequences, now we start to worry about the future. Is this the right thing to do to get this goal? Or is this the wrong thing to do to make this terrible thing happen? We do think about that as animals. So we want to not necessarily dwell on negatives. We want to recognize them. We want to react to them. But we don't want to let them create our behavior pattern. Okay? But because Bruce asked a question, I want to encourage everybody to ask questions as we go, because when we get to the end, you may forget the question or it may no longer be topical. So yeah, feel free to ask. All right, when we no longer follow the laws of our species, we create lifestyle stressors. Okay, so what's a stressor? Anything toxic? Okay, or anything deficient. Toxic is too much of a bad thing. Deficient is too little of a good thing, or a necessary thing. All right, our nervous system controls everything in our body, including the reaction to the environment. Okay, so our brain communicates through our spine, which goes out to our extremities, it goes out to our skin, and we feel the temperature, we feel the vibrations, we feel the touch, we feel energy. Okay, and so all of those things are determining how we react to everything around us. We're self-healing and self-regulating, right? Okay, so I don't have to go to a doctor to stop the blood that I just cut myself with, right? My body should know what to do. I don't have to take a medicine to tolerate the pain, okay? But I can, but I don't have to. The body's gonna regulate and make sure I survive that. Our brain receives over 1 trillion messages every single second. Okay, 1 trillion. And it can only consciously recognize about 50. Okay, how many people have kids? Okay, we all have kids. Okay, most. So, when your kid always comes up and asks the same thing, okay, does it irritate you? Okay, if they keep asking, they don't get over it. They just keep asking, they keep asking, right? Don't you wish you had a filter so you don't have to listen to them? Maybe it's not the kids, maybe it's your husband. So if I sit on this desk while I'm talking, my butt sends a message to my brain saying, hey, you're sitting on a desk. And my brain will say, tell me about it. Well, it's not cushioned, so it's not very comfortable, but it's fairly sturdy, so it's pretty safe. And my butt will say, thanks. And then it'll say, you're sitting on a desk. 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 And my brain's like, dude, I got it. And it will filter it off. Okay, so until I bring that up, your butt was telling your brain you're sitting on the chair, but your brain probably didn't feel it anymore. It didn't think it was important. It was no longer a threat. But if somebody lit your chair on fire, it wouldn't matter any other stimulus your brain was getting. Your butt would get top of consciousness. It would be number 1 out of 50. Dude, you're on fire, you're gonna die. And the brain would be sending out the alarm, you know, the little strobe lights would go off, and you'd get off the chair, save your life. Okay, so that's what the body does to react to the environment. Okay, but there are so many messages. Do you have a clue what 1 trillion is compared to 1 million? I mean, we understand it's, you know, 6 more zeros, but if you counted 1 million seconds, it would take you 12 days to get there. If you count 1 billion seconds, it takes you 34 years to get there. So if you go out 1 trillion, it's 34,000 years worth of seconds. And your brain gets that every single second. If we had to do that consciously, we would die. It would be way too much sensory overload. So that's why the brain gets to filter that out. If the stressor is natural and safe, then the nervous system reaction creates a normal shift in physiology. So what's that mean? It means if I go outside and it's colder than it is inside, my body will change and adapt to that cold. Okay, so if I have a bear that's in the summertime, that bear is going to be a lean, mean fighting machine. It's going to have thin fat layer. It's going to have thin hair layer. It's going to have higher blood pressure, higher, you know, blood sugar, so it can move around, hunt, and fish and survive. If I have a bear that's hibernating, it's going to have a fat layer that's much thicker, a big old hairy, you know, fur. It's going to have low heart rate, low blood sugar rate. So which bear is the healthy bear?
Well, they both are.
Both are. Okay, because their stressor was naturally safe. Their body still changed. Their lab values still changed. There was no bear doctor saying, hey, Yogi, you got to get your blood pressure up, right? Why do we have to do that? All right, so if the lifestyle stressor is not natural or safe, okay, so you're going down, you got your village, they want some water, they say, Dan, you got to go get the water. I'm like, okay, I'll get the water. Got energy, right? Gotta put on my gorilla suit. So I go down, I get the water, I'm by the pond, and I look around the pond, and I see this doe putting its head over to drink. And pretty soon, rah, this bear comes and gets me. Right? Now, what's my nervous system do? Immediately. Okay, well, as Bill Cosby said, first you say it, then you do it. Right? Ah, shit, here comes a bear. So, now lots of things have to happen. I'm going to go into fight or flight. Okay? Fight or flight. Any unsafe environment that the nervous system predicts. Okay, the nervous system has to do that. If I'm not aware of the bear, I won't change into fight or flight. But even if I'm not aware of something else, my nervous system might go into fight or flight if it's aware of it. Okay? But it's trying to protect us. Okay? It is designed to keep us alive, not designed to keep us healthy. Okay? Does that make sense? Fight or flight does not make us healthy. It literally breaks things down on purpose that are health related. It is a defensive mechanism allowing you the opportunity to fight. Okay? It allows you the opportunity to fight. You still have to make a conscious choice to do so. How does it allow you the opportunity to fight? It gets you into physiological changes. Okay? It's allowing you to find a safer environment. So let's say I'm on an iceberg. Okay, I'm on an iceberg and I'm cold. Okay, my body will sacrifice different unnecessary parts in order for me to survive that iceberg long enough to get off the iceberg. I may lose my fingers, I may lose my toes, and I may lose my very big nose. Okay, don't take my ears. All right, you have to recognize the threat, okay, by your nervous system. Okay, so it's got to be recognized. I see it, there it is. Okay, now I'm alarmed. I'm a little bit panicked now. I can feel my heart rate going. I can feel the tension, and I can feel the urge to want to do something. What happens if I don't see the bear? I don't know it's there? Then I become bear food because I didn't have an alarm to try to leave it. So once the threat's recognized, now the nervous system gets you into fight or flight from rest and digest. Rest and digest is basically your health and balance. All right, remember they're designed to improve your chance of survival. They're designed to improve your chance of survival. Not for health. Okay, so what happens? I elevate my stress hormones. Okay, stress hormones are cortisol, adrenaline, things that ump it up, it gives me the energy right now, lifting trucks off of babies. Okay, adrenaline, cortisol. Increases the metabolic rate. Okay, so it stimulates my blood pressure, stimulates my blood sugars, gets my mind systems into a state of alarm. Okay, my mind system's in a state of alarm, which means I'm looking for negatives. I'm not thinking about grandma's birthday. Okay, they change the genetic expression. Okay, remember my blueprint. Okay, right now, different switches of my genes get turned on. My genes didn't change, but different ones are going to be turned on so my physiology can change. Cellular level to allow those cells to be more resilient at that moment. All right, it decreases my immune system. Okay, that sounds silly. Why would it decrease your immune system if you're in fight or flight? But your immune system is fighting infections and bacteria. White blood cells cannot kill a bear. It decreases the ability to bind insulin to your sugar. Okay, so that free-floating insulin after Big Brother forces your favorite orange cake. Oh, I didn't say cake, just dessert. You need your blood sugar available for the muscles, but your pancreas still says, hey, if there's blood sugar, I'm supposed to do this, right? And we're like, yeah, whatever, just don't bother us. Okay, so it still does its job, and nobody wants its production. So you got this free-floating insulin. Insulin won't let you do a lot of things. It irritates all the cells. It keeps you from burning fat. And it just creates more and more inflammation. And you decrease the ability to utilize sex hormones where they belong because you don't want to get pregnant when you're fighting a bear. Okay? So your body's still going to produce the sex hormones, your progesterone and estrogen and testosterone, but your body's, it's just like the pancreas. We're doing our job over here and like, dude, shut up, we're fighting a bear. Okay? But now it's free floating and it's just going wherever it wants. Okay? Now, if we get out of that habitat in 12 minutes and we're safe again, we're going to bounce back to normal and everything balances. If we're not, okay, let's say that bear stays in our environment. Well, I don't know when I'm safe then. Well, what if it's not a bear? What if I'm just, in an unsafe environment anyway and everything I look around, scares me. Okay, look at the people that are in wartime, Middle East or wartime World War II or wartime Vietnam. Every second of their life was under stress. What if I just have a chronic pain? It just never goes away. If it never goes away, it's always sending a message to your brain saying, dude, we're in a really unsafe environment and I think you're gonna die. And the brain's like, okay, well, we're gonna prepare you to fight. We're gonna prepare you to fight. What if I just sit all day long and it doesn't hurt? You're still getting messages sent to your brain. Dude, you're not moving. This joint's not moving. That's not right. We're under attack. Prepare to fight. What are you gonna fight? I'm gonna fight that chair. You can't, but you're prepared to fight. Your nervous system doesn't discriminate from the stressor. It recognizes the threat and it prepares your body for opportunity to get out of that environment. Oh, kill the donut. Run away from the donut, run away. Anybody ran away from a donut? No. Have we all ran towards the donuts? Yes. But if we're eating a donut, I literally take one bite, my body will tell my brain, dude, you're about to die. And the brain's like, oh, sorry. And it tells all, the thyroid to tell the pancreas, hey, do that thing with the insulin and the insulin. Okay, so we got a message sent to our brain, right? One of the trillion, maybe a bunch of the trillion, is saying, dude, you're about to die. The brain responds, but it's not a top of consciousness message. We don't feel that donut is killing us right now. The brain didn't tell our conscious brain, hey, Dan, please stop eating the donuts. But it's telling the whole body, prepare to fight the donut. And if I don't recognize that the donut is killing me, am I going to choose to kill it? What if we're just constantly unhappy? We're just worried. Always, 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 always worried. We're just unhappy. Have no joy in life. Okay? The brain gets told, this is an unsafe environment. Okay? You're always stressed out. Okay? That's the stress that most of us coordinate stress with. When you say the word stress, most people are thinking that. Chronic stress leads to a shift in our nervous system chronically. Okay? So all of the fight or flight responses become chronic. Our adrenal hormones create cortisol spikes. Cortisol spikes means if I eat the donut, I get a stress spike. If I go exercise, I get a stress spike. Well, exercise should be good, right? Yeah, it should be good, but not if I'm already stressed. If I drink coffee, it's a stress spike. If my boss yells at me, it's a stress spike. So pretty soon, I've done this enough times over my life that the nervous system changes. It says, hey, remember that time you wanted to be really good at free throws and you practice all the time and you got really good at free throws? Well, I see that you're practicing all the time to get these cortisol spikes. We'll be really good at that too. So you start spiking cortisol when you don't have a stressor. And sometimes, most of the time, it's in the middle of the night. So you wake up, bong, and you can't go to sleep and you don't know why. And your brain just races about things that aren't even important. You're like, why am I thinking about this? And why can't I get that song stuck out of my head? And then you fall asleep because you're exhausted. And then 3 hours later, boom, you're wide awake. And so you get these patterns of cortisol spikes throughout the day. And the body doesn't discriminate night versus day. All right, so if I'm now chronically in fight or flight, okay, I'm always there, and I got those things that were trying to protect me from the bear, my elevated heart rate, blood pressure, and cholesterol, but they stay elevated for a long period of time. Now I'm gonna get a label. Okay, I got high blood sugar, low insulin, I'm gonna get a label. Decreased cellular immunity, decreased sex hormone binding capacity, I'm gonna get a label. Decreased serotonin and dopamine, those are your happy and relaxation hormones. Because you can't be happy and relaxed when you're fighting a bear. Increased anxious memories. Hey, I remember that bear attack, and I'm gonna look for more bears, okay? Those are things that stay elevated when you're in fight or flight, regardless of the stimulation of fight or flight. Prolonged cellular inflammation, all major diseases, and disengagement of your prefrontal cortex, okay? That part of your brain that sets our animal species apart from most other animal species. It gives us empathy. It gives us compassion. It gives us, reasoning. the ability to recognize consequences. It resists the urge of impulse decisions. All right, important to remember, the body is intelligent, okay? It does not make mistakes, okay? And that's hard to recognize when, people have cancer and diabetes and stuff like that, but that's the body reacting to an environment, meeting a demand that it keeps going through. It changes to meet the demands, I just said that, okay? If they are prolonged, then the physiology changes and then changes over a period of time. So if I had a knee that buckled in and I never got it fixed, and every time I walked with it buckled in, pretty soon this tissue in here is going to change. It's going to get hardened to meet the demand of that new stress. And it's going to minimize my function, but it's going to allow me to survive without keep tearing up my knee. But it's going to change the tissue of my knee. Same thing happens with our heart, same things happen with our liver, our lungs, our uterus, whatever organ is being affected by, the nervous system. All right, so what's the standard response? Okay, medical model. That's what we've been taught, for 50, 70 years now, since 1950s. Medical model is you get sick and then you take something to manage it, okay? They think you get sick from bad genes, so they're always trying to research how to change your genes, how to change your genes, how do you change your genes? It's not the genes, okay? The genes haven't changed in 40,000 years. Science proves it's sickness, so science has proven, not medicine. Science has proven that the sickness is simply a shift in that physiology of your system. And there's no medications made on the market today, despite the billions and billions of dollars being made every day. There's no medication that address health. They only work on symptoms. Okay? And do you know anybody that ever gets a medication temporarily for a chronic condition? Hey, I have high blood pressure. Just take this for a couple weeks until you get that health back. It doesn't work that way. It should, but it doesn't. Okay. 2017 study, Journal of Neurology. Okay? This is on cognitive decline, dementias, Alzheimer's, brain fogs, things like that. They did a survey of all the available research then. And after looking at that, they said the only thing that we can prove is evidence-based out of all the research of what the treatment options are for these symptoms is exercise. What do you think the neurologists did with that? They probably gave him a really big, expensive finger. Over 90% of the neurologists do not suggest exercise over medication. Okay? And patients don't want that recommendation. They've heard that from their mom. They heard that from their PE teacher. I'm going to my neurologist. I want really big words. No, I want you to tell me something that I've never heard of before, and then I want you to give me something that I can't pronounce, right? Because that's the medical model. I don't want to change my lifestyle. Just give me a pill, doc. Doesn't science prove that medicine works? Well, it goes back to what question are you asking? Will this medicine lower cholesterol? Yeah, absolutely. Unequivocally. We can prove it every single time or every single time. Hey, will this improve my health? Absolutely not. We can prove it every single time, every single time. 1 million out of a million. Okay? You're asking the wrong questions. Not you personally, you as a collective body in this world that relies upon those drugs. Medication can save lives. Okay, so I'm not knocking medication. If I had a kidney stone, and I said, hey, honey, take me to urgent care. And so Carrie drove me to Salem Urgent Care, where we thought it was, right next to the hospital. And I'm like, oh shit, where is it? I said, then just take me to the ER. All right, we can see the ER. She turns around and takes me to Silverton. Thank God, because Salem would have made me wait 3 hours, and Salem watched me walk in and diagnose myself and then charge me $600. But I was super glad they had medication. They gave me morphine, great. And then they gave me Percocet to go home, great. So I was really happy it exists. Because even though I probably could have survived that, I didn't want to see, or I didn't want my wife to see me, you know, curling up in a ball and crying again, still. All right, so the normal levels keep changing. Why do you think that is? Okay, so when I graduated college, the normal blood pressure was anything lower than 140 over 90. And within 8 years, it dropped to 120 over 90. Now they want it to be less than 110 over 80. Why does it keep changing? Is it because the average American is so much healthier now that their blood pressure is lower? So, well, that's who we should emulate. Do we think that's it? No. What?
Money. They want
You want money?
to lower the standards so they can put you on high blood pressure.
They want to put you on high blood pressure. They want more of you on medication. It's not all greed, but most of it's going to be greed. Some of it is based upon belief. They really believe, scientists believe, that if I can get you on a blood pressure medication now, when you don't need it, you will never have blood pressure problems later, which is probably true. Except for the fact that blood pressure is supposed to go up when you're under stress. Right? And guess what happens when you put a chemistry in your body that God never intended you to have? You are now under stress. You will get a billion messages saying, dude, you're about to die. And the brain will be like, wow, I don't know what that crap is. Then we need to start changing to meet that demand of whatever that person keeps putting in our body. Okay, so our liver starts to get, you know, fatty, and it starts to get scarred over. Our kidneys start to get overtaxed. Our insulin is starting to bind things that aren't supposed to be bound. But we have normal blood pressure. All right, additional medications are given for the same condition at the same time. Why? You see the commercials right now, and you know, America, I think America and New Zealand are the only two countries in the world that can advertise prescription drugs on TV. But if you look at them, number one, do they really portray the person that needs that drug? Okay, you got this, you know, 28-year-old, you know, muscle man playing beach volleyball, and they're talking about this blood pressure medication or this other medication or this diabetes medication. That guy doesn't have those. But he looks good, and I sure want to look good like him. So, Doc, can I have some of those? That's what it's geared up for. But if you start listening to them, now they're saying, this medication is for those who are already taking medication for this. And we're just going to help that medication work. Well, why does that medication need help to work? Quit giving it to me if it doesn't work on its own. But that's what they're doing. All right. Pharmaceutical companies, they pay out billions of dollars in fines. Billions of dollars in fines. And they're still allowed to make more drugs. So back in the 2000s, 2005, 2006, there was a drug called Vioxx. Okay, Vioxx is a painkiller. It is pre-oxycodone, okay, but it's an opioid. And the drug company that made Vioxx specifically told Congress and the FDA, this is non-addictive and it works all the time. And they finally said, okay, let's run it. And within 5 years, 50,000 people died directly of taking Vioxx. And in Congress, under oath, the makers or the pharmaceutical company said, yeah, we knew. We lied. Sorry. And they said, hey, why'd you lie? They said, we knew what your fines were going to be. We knew we could pay them. Here you go. And they said, well, you can't make Vioxx anymore. And pay me that $5 billion. Now go make something else. So literally, these convicted murderers are making your next drug. Doom and gloom, doom and gloom. All right, can cholesterol drugs improve health? Okay,
Dr.
so
Dan, Bruce has a
Just
question.
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
quick question. So I'm fascinated about the high blood sugar, or the high blood
pressure.
So they give you a pill, and does it suppress your stressors?
No,
And in the long term, what happens to you?
it does not suppress your stressors. So the question was, if you take a pill, are they limiting the stressor? Which would be a better idea, because then everything kind of falls in place. No, they're literally changing a number. They are changing your heart. Most medications have a direct effect on your endocrine system. Okay, so they're changing your hormones basically.
Okay.
And so it's trying to figure out a way. Remember when I said that they're trying to change the genes? So they're waiting, you get a stimulus. The stimulus tells the brain something. The brain then sends out a message to all your organs and your endocrine system saying, conjugate that hormone over this way instead of that way. And make sure that these do this and make sure that does that. And then over here, once this final thing pops that genetic expression to get your blood pressure up, that's where we're gonna stop it, right there, right there. Well, all of these other things are always gonna be happening still. And you just put another stressor in there. Okay, you have this chemistry in there now. And your brain expects this guy to be going up. Okay? Hey, why is blood pressure not going up? Everybody else is doing their job, blood pressure is now down. What's going on? Now you created abnormal shift in that ratio, and so everything else tries to ramp up even more. Well, what do? Oh, well, now you have cholesterol problems. I knew your heart was a bad ticker. All right, so 39 scientific studies were reviewed in 2013. Can cholesterol drugs improve health? Okay. In fact, they used to say it on the ad itself. This drug cannot improve, or has not been shown to affect heart disease. Why do they care if your cholesterol's up? Because they're concerned about heart disease. But they literally said it in the ad. It cannot work for prevention of heart disease. It causes or increases the risk of muscular disease, lung disease, diabetes, cerebral hemorrhage, Parkinson's, cancer, cataracts, and calcification of your artery. Can it improve your health? People are dying faster with much lower cholesterol. All right, can any prescription medication improve your health? Okay, so this is a 2013 study. The greatest number of prescription-related drug hospitalizations or deaths occur from properly prescribed physicians and taken as directed. Okay, these are not overdoses. These are not, ooh, I gave you the wrong one. So, there's a not really a joke, but a statement that says only the medical doctors or the medical students can get an A+ if every one of their patients died. As long as they diagnosed them right and gave them the right medication. A+. Okay, it has nothing to do with the outcome of the patient. And that's what we see. People are dying. It is literally the 4th leading cause of death is properly used medications. Doom and gloom. So what's the biological response? Okay? Biological response is we need to remember we're an animal species. Okay? Every animal has their own essential ingredients to be healthy. What is the essential ingredients for me versus what is the essential ingredients for you? They are the same. It's just you may get it from a different source than me. Okay? Too much of a bad thing is a stressor. Not enough of a necessary thing is a stressor. Those are ways that we are now becoming aware that we can minimize our stress footprint on ourselves. We can be aware of our choices, and make a foothold going in the right direction. Anybody remember when the Great Lakes were like seeing fish pop up and they're floating around? Okay, so nobody said, hey, those fish need some drugs. Right? Why not? Okay, well, they recognized as their environment. They knew that the Great Lakes were being polluted. Okay, the Great Lakes are still being polluted. Right now, over 50% of the fish coming out of the Great Lakes are on Zoloft. True fact. And any fish that's within 2 miles of a sewage treatment plant has, like the male fish now have eggs. They have low sperm count. They have erotic behavior. They're no longer becoming gender familiar. So when I say that the drugs affect your endocrine system, that's what's happening. Is all these things that are getting into the systems are affecting the animals that take it. So their endocrine systems are messing up. All right, halftime. Okay, everybody stand up. All right, 10 twists. Back and forth. I'm doing a task, if I'm sitting in a car, if I'm doing something my body's not entirely used to doing, take breaks. Set a timer. Put an alarm on. Remind yourself to do it. All right, now you're going to do what's called the I Want to Live Long exercise. So, arms straight up, thumbs back. You're going to hold that for 20 seconds, trying to get your shoulder blades together. Okay, right now just do it for 10 seconds, okay, just for levity. But this is a postural exercise, okay? So that forms an I. Now form a W, okay? Thumbs back, shoulder blades together. Try to bring your ears over your shoulders. 10 more seconds with that. So IW. Okay, now we're going out to a T. Straight out. Vana, thumbs the other direction. There you go, shoulder blades together. 10 more seconds. That's a T, so IWT. Now we're going down here. Okay? Those are two L's. Here's an L, here's an L. I want to live long. Do not forget that. Do these exercises at least once a day. And if you are at a computer, you want to do them probably once an hour. All right? Because we're always in this position. We are changing our structure abnormally, just like my knee going off there. And therefore, my tissues now have to change abnormally. And over a period of time, it's really hard to reverse it. All right, one more thing. Grab the desk in front of you if you need to, and squat as deep as you can. Looking straight. Heels on the floor. And this is another one you want to hold for about 20 seconds if you can, and it opens up your joints in your knees, your hips, and your back. The reason you want to open up your joints, as you'll learn here in a minute, is that any joint that doesn't move its full range of motion within a few weeks will start to scar over and inflame. And it will send a message to your brain saying something's wrong, and your brain will prepare you to fight that stuck joint. But you won't feel it, especially if it's in your spine. All right. Let's move on. Okay, no nachos in this halftime. All right, now we're getting into what to do. So we're going to eat right. We want to eat right for our species. Probably the most important action for our health. Okay, so, for our weight loss program, I always tell people when they're saying, well, I exercise all the time. I said, that's good. Exercise is for fitness. The kitchen is for fatness. Okay, so we need to eat right if we want to be healthy. We need to eat right if we want to lose our fat. We want to exercise if we want to maintain that health. So you have to have both. Should be the easiest, but maybe the most difficult, because it's really difficult when somebody brings me my favorite orange dessert. And I can't say no to it. My impulse decisions get blocked when I have that temptation because I've anchored an emotional response to it. I have wired my nervous system to see it and love it and crave it, and now I can't say no to it. I thought this was funny. So read it and think it's funny for me. All right, so what are we supposed to eat? Okay, it's really simple. If we were to go back 20,000 years ago, what were we supposed to eat? Okay, if I can find it out of the ground and my older brother Steve ate it and didn't die, then I'm going to eat it. If I pick it from a tree and it smells right but doesn't taste sour, I'm going to eat it. If I can catch it, I'm going to eat it. Those are my options. Okay? And what do I drink? Okay? We had two choices for breakfast 20,000 years ago. We can either drink fresh water or fresh water. Now we have 100 different choices for breakfast. Fresh water might be one of them, and nobody chooses it. Oh, pictures. Yep, eat that stuff. Cook those things. All right, what isn't right for our species type to eat? Okay? Go America, right? Trump. Sugar, processed this, artificial that. Anything that you're drinking that probably isn't water, probably isn't good for you. Okay, now, that being said, Dr. Steve just told me a couple weeks ago, hey, coffee is the leading source of magnesium.
Yes!
And that is correct. It truly is. I saw the study. And I heard that red wine's got resveratrol, which helps elongate your telomeres at the end of your DNA, which is a sign of aging, and therefore you're going to live longer. Which is correct. Okay, magnesium is essential, resveratrol is essential. But when you put it with an alcohol, it becomes a poison. When you put it with a caffeine, it becomes a stressor. It whips your adrenals. Your adrenals are what produces your stress hormones, and your adrenals are like horses, moving a plow in your field. And as you get, towards the end of the row, your horses are starting to get a little tired. You're like, dude, I got this whole field plowed. You get your whip out and you make some noise. And they're like, whoa, I'm going. Like, they weren't tired. They just needed to hear the noise. And pretty soon they get tired again. You're like, hey, you make some noise and they're still not doing anything. What the? And so you whack them. Hey, and so it moves again. Okay, well, they weren't tired. They just needed a little encouragement. Okay, were your horses tired? Absolutely. Okay, what was the whip? It's a stimulation. It's stimulating your adrenals. So if you are super fatigued and you need that coffee in the morning, how many people need that coffee in the morning? So not very many, I'm very happy. Okay, but some people need it. Okay, they're the ones that say, don't talk to me till I have my coffee type stuff. That is them borrowing tomorrow's energy just to get through today. Okay, they're whipping their adrenals that are already fatigued, and the adrenals will do its job. It will increase your blood pressure, increase your blood sugars, it will put you into stress on purpose. It'll actually make you feel good because those initial inflammatory agents will decrease pain. Okay, because if I'm fighting a bear and it gets me, do I have the luxury to say, time out, man? No. Okay, so you have to be resilient. And so you will actually tolerate more pain when you are under acute stress. But over a prolonged stress, you will create it more because everything's inflamed. Okay, it's really difficult to combat a value menu. Okay, I can't go to Safeway and pick out a pound of hamburger and a package of buns and a head of lettuce and a tomato and then pay for it and then go home and then cut out how much hamburger I want and put it together on the patty and take the piece of buns that I want and slice this up and then eat it for the same price and convenience that I can get it at McDonald's. Right? Regardless of, the healthy quality from this versus that. Big gulps. I remember we used to do DOT physicals. DOT physicals, truck drivers would come in, they'd say, oh yeah, I have a big gulp first thing in the morning, and then I have a big gulp at lunch. I'm like, wow. And he says, and then in between, I have a 6-pack of Mountain Dew while on the road. I'm like, wow. Nice knowing you. So this kid, he's trying to put in all those holes because you can't get enough. Okay, and we get addicted to this stuff. Okay, and this kid's being taught by his parents. And they get this gut reaction, because they hear all this stuff all the time. Ooh, vegetables, ooh, vegetables, ooh, vegetables. And so they learn from it, and they don't want it now. So, this kid's trying to win a record. And this is the shirt he gets for it. All right. Why do we crave sugar? Well, it is sweet, but why is that important? Why do we like it? I mean, it's actually genetically required. So let's think about that. 20,000 years ago, what's sweet? Fruit. When is it sweet?
Right.
When it's ripe. What time of year is that? Summer. When's apples ripe? Fall. Okay. When I eat sugar, and I'm not used to it throughout the year, but I eat sugar because I get to an apple and don't want to eat that one. Get to another apple. That's not bad because I'm gonna eat all of these. Now I got this big spike of sugar, so I get this big rush of insulin. Okay, but good thing with fruit is you got a bunch of other things protecting you from the sugar. You don't get the opportunity to eat as much from one apple as you would get from one big gulp. But that insulin now is going to start creating fat. Why is that important in the fall.
Get ready for winter.
Because it gets ready for winter. 20,000 years ago, I didn't have Walmart to go to in the winter, and so my food choices are going to be pretty lean. And now I got to tolerate it, so I got to create energy stores. And so we're designed to crave sugar.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
So like, I don't generally crave sugar.
What do you crave?
Fruits.
Well, that's good. That's a
well,
sugar.
well, I eat fruits, but when I'm breastfeeding, I crave sugar. Like,
Yeah.
then I know what people are talking about when they say, oh my gosh, I crave sugar all the time. So the first time I had a baby and I was breastfeeding, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like. It's like, okay, keep the cakes away from me, keep all this stuff
And that's
so
and it's
unhealthy.
an energy requirement. You are being drained your energy when you breastfeed on purpose, okay? Because you got this host that wants to live. But your body's saying, I need more energy now. I need that stimulus. So that's one of the reasons why that happens. All right, so yeah, we're gonna hibernate. Now, how do we get addicted to sugar? There's a big difference between craving and addicted, but we all get addicted to sugar, okay? So, unfortunately, passed from mother to infant through the placenta and breast milk, we never stood a chance, okay? I crave sugar when I'm breastfeeding. I crave sugar when I'm pregnant because I need that energy. I'm fatigued when I'm pregnant. 20,000 years ago, it wasn't a concern. I would get lean, okay? But I would have a baby, and the baby would take all my nutrition. I would still be okay because I have growth hormone protecting me, but I wouldn't have the ability to gain a bunch of weight because I'm too tired and not enough food. Now, it's readily available. Keep the cakes away from me. That means you have still my prefrontal cortex preventing my impulse decisions to just eat orange desserts. So it literally says that when I'm pregnant and I put desserts in my body, it goes to my baby, and my baby now starts creating insulin in the womb. When my baby's born and I'm breastfeeding, it'll get to my baby, and maybe I'm not breastfeeding. Maybe I have to give it formula. The two first ingredients of formula: high fructose corn syrup and sugar. Sugar and sugar. Two different kinds of sugar, so we can call it something else. But it's sugar and sugar. Why? Because it makes babies fat. That makes moms happy. Oh, look at my fat baby. Yeah, it's healthy. It's on the top of the charts. 90% fat, 90% height. Let's have a healthy baby. What a good baby boy. Good job. And then, when the babies are done breastfeeding or done on formula, they start eating, cereals, but they're rice cereals. Okay, bland stuff, something they can tolerate for their tum-tums. Okay, but rice cereal is just high glycemic food with no nutritional value. Okay, it's giving you more calories. Fatten the baby up. Fatten the baby. It's like fat bastard wants to eat your baby. And then you go to real cereal. What's the real cereal? Frosted Flakes. Frosted Flakes, the best, right? In the country of Chile, they outlawed Tony the Tiger. They don't let any mascot on cereals. The cereals are in a brown box. It says Frosted Flakes with a warning label on it. I love it. I wish I could get here. All right, then the kids, they start putting, apple juice in their sippy cups. And then they start eating fruit roll-ups. And the next thing you know, they're addicted to sugar. They have to have Mountain Dew. They have to have Frosted Flakes. They have to have Ho-Hos and Ding Dongs. But now I don't. All right, do you remember the food pyramid? Okay, the food pyramid was developed by scientists that were paid for from sugar industries. And even though they said, we don't want a whole bunch of sugar up here, they said eat 6 to 11 servings a day of bread, cereal, rice, and pasta. 6 to 11 servings a day. Every one of those is high glycemic, low nutrition. Okay, a lot of calories, turns to sugar, stuffs, sugar into your cells, force feeds it, makes your liver overflow with sugar to where it's just always in your blood system. We don't get fat from eating fat. Okay, so where was the fat on this? Up at the top. Fats, oils, and sweets. Okay, well, sweets, that's good. Get those out of there. But fats and oils, okay, avocados and nuts, they're essential ingredients. Okay, we don't get fat from eating fat, we get fat from our cells being full of sugar. All right, fruit has sugar, but everybody can benefit from eating fruit because it's got other things that allows you to be protected from the sugar. All right, so all those ads, Taco Bell and Carl Jr. and Dick Gulps, you got to recognize that they're put there on purpose. Okay, scientists know. It used to be, we'd get a focus group and I'd say, hey, Dr. Dan wants to do an ad for car crashes. And so I put a picture of Dr. Dan in a red shirt, and then I put a picture of Dr. Dan in a blue shirt, and I ask everybody, which picture does Dr. Dan look good on? And everybody says, no, none, get them out. And so I get a different focus group and they say red shirt. Okay, so that's a focus group on how they used to determine which ad they should run. Now they use functional MRI. So they'll hook your brain up to a machine and put the pictures up, and when it finally lights up your pleasure center, they got you.
Wow.
Okay? They're doing psychological warfare against you to make sure that you are taking something that's going to kill you. Okay? Because it makes them money. Look in your local store. You go down to Safeway. 60% of Safeway has added sugar in whatever is being sold. And if you're not in the fruits and vegetables, the meats, or the dairy, you're in the aisles with the boxes, cans, and bags, none of it's good for you. Except for frozen peas, or frozen vegetables. I'll give that. So if frozen vegetables or fruit, that's probably okay. Okay, but anything else that's in a bag, box, or can, no. But Darren?
Me and Don were in the kitchen one day, and I started pulling things out of our cupboard. That was probably, 90% of the stuff in our cupboard had sugar in it. And you wouldn't expect there to be sugar in this particular item, but there was,
Why do they want you to have sugar in that item?
because it's addictive.
Because it's addictive. Okay? Why did Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it? It's addictive, but guess what? Sugar's more addictive than cocaine. Sugar's more addictive than meth. Sugar's more addictive than heroin. They did studies on rats, and they got rats addicted to meth or heroin. And once they picked one, they always went to the same one. And then they introduced them to sugar. They never touched meth again. They always wanted the sugar.
Isn't sugar on the same receptors in your brain as cocaine?
Well, yeah, so it's the pleasure centers. It lights up the pleasure centers, yeah. And so you want more of it. All right, remember, we're not genetically designed to require willpower to make good choices. 20,000 years ago, we didn't have temptations to determine whether or not we should have salad versus pizza. So, start by adding something good before you eliminate something bad. It's a lot easier. Okay, fresh fiber first. I always say you eat an apple, you eat a carrot, something before each meal to get that fiber in there, get that real fruit, real vegetable in your system now. It gets you used to enjoying it. It gets you fuller, and it allows you to tolerate the next thing better. You're building resilience, so the days when you do have sugar, your body's more adaptable to it. You don't have cells overflowing it, and you can tolerate it easier. Drink 80 ounces of water a day at least. Okay, you might go to the bathroom a lot more at first, but that's your body being used to not putting hydration into its cells. And remember, there's no exercise that can outdo a bad diet. All right, so these things we cannot get in our diet anymore, so we need to supplement. Okay, omega-3 fish oil and vitamin D. Those are the two main things that are the most evidence-based by science for our health and our immune system and our tolerance and resilience. If you're not taking them, start taking them. And
The sun is not a vitamin D supplement, right?
it is. It absolutely is.
Okay.
So if you go out, 10 months out of the year naked into the sun and you're getting, 4 to 6 hours of sun on your entire body,
Okay.
you're going to get enough vitamin D. Okay, so in Oregon, we're in pretty bad shape. If you're down in Nicaragua, you're probably okay. When you pick your supplements, it used to be taught that if you had a lesser quality supplement, it just didn't absorb well. Okay, they usually coat it with something that tastes better, and you would have to take twice as many to get the same amount that is said.
What's a good amount for vitamin D?
So 5,000 a day, 5,000 units a day. When you get into the winter, you could probably up to 10,000. If you're sick, you want to double. So at least 10,000 a day if you're sick. But if you're picking vitamins from your store like Target and Costco and Walmart, synthetic vitamins are typically what are going to be the cheaper ones. And now the science says it will literally harm you. It's not that it's not as good, it is literally bad. All right, moving right. Okay, we just did some warm-up exercises. Those are things that you can do throughout the day. We were designed to move. Okay, we're just like any of God's other animals. It used to be, 20,000 years ago, we're moving to find food and to avoid predators. Okay, we're looking up. We weren't looking down at our cell phones, and we certainly weren't sitting all day long. In fact, we didn't sit hardly at all. We squatted. Okay, and so that opens up our joints, but it keeps our spine in a better position. When we sit, it actually negatively affects our spine and starts putting pressure in the wrong spots. And there's no exercise that can undo 8 hours of sitting. So even if you exercise every morning for 30 to 60 minutes a day, which is great, it's an essential ingredient. It builds heart strength and muscle strength. It may build flexibility and endurance. But if you sit all day long, you are still going to stress yourself out, and you won't know it because you don't feel it. Lack of movement is deadly neurologically. Okay, so this is what happens. Any joint losing motion, okay, even partially, it doesn't necessarily create pain. It's one of the trillion messages. It's not necessarily one of the 50. Okay, so it sends a message to your brain saying, hey dude, we're not moving. And the brain's like, okay, well why don't you make yourself to where you don't move better? Okay, don't move better. Yeah, be better at not moving. Okay, scar up. It creates inflammation. It creates scarring. It starts to decrease the movement message to the brain. It's called proprioception. That movement message is an essential ingredient of health. Your brain needs that knowledge that everything's moving right. It increases the stress response to the brain. It's called nociception. That's where pain comes from when you get damage. That creates a fight or flight response, preparing you to fight, and you don't know that you have to fight something. Okay? And if it's not corrected, remember this, everything gets your labels, you get all that stuff. If it's not corrected, you now have chronic stress just from joints that don't move. Okay? And if the joint doesn't move, your information to your brain is inaccurate. Okay? So that's like walking into this, looking at all the chairs, looking at all the people, then turn the lights off, and then trying to find where to sit. Okay? I know some of the information. And I know there should be a chair here. Oh, yep, I feel the table. But you just don't have all the information. If your brain doesn't get all the information, your brain can't react accordingly. Okay, so what's that mean? If I wanted to pick that chair up, and I look through my database in my brain and I say, well, that chair looks like it's about 18 pounds from previous chairs that I've picked up, because I pick up chairs. And I pick up the chair, and part of my muscles will tell my brain that's 18.6 pounds. And my brain will immediately respond back and say, well, you tighten up with 16 kilojoules, and you tighten up with 14 kilojoules, and we're stabilized. But the other side of my muscle says, well, I said it's 14.6 pounds because I'm at a different angle. Well, then you need to stabilize this way, and you need to stabilize this way. And this happens all the way up and down our spine. A trillion times a second. And as soon as I pick up more, my lever action changes, and the messages go back and forth changes. But if I have a joint that's been stuck for a while, and it starts scarring over, and it starts inflaming, that message to the brain is like, it's like 15 to 25 pounds. What? How's my brain supposed to respond to that? So it can guess 16 joules, or it can punt. Okay, and we see the people at our office where their brains punted. Something happened, Doc. Well, what'd you do? Oh, I overdid it this weekend. Well, what were you doing? I was out in the garden. Wow, what'd you do out in the garden? Oh, I was planting this plant. Well, what kind of plant? Oh, it's a little berry bush. That was their idea of overdoing it. Okay, we're not overdoing anything. We're underdoing it. Okay, you know these little kids that have these backpack problems. Oh, too much books in the backpack. Too much books in the backpack. 20,000 years ago, kids probably put 80 pounds of water on their back, carrying them uphill 10 miles to feed their village. We don't have kids that have too many books in their backpack. We have kids that have too little muscles in their back. All right, so if I have an abnormal tissue, create an abnormal joint motion. An abnormal joint motion changes my brain problems. Now I have a negative cycle. And it does not get better on its own. Okay, even if this guy doesn't come to me and it starts to feel better in a couple of weeks, the joint didn't improve. Guaranteed, it cannot improve. Because it's scarred over and inflamed. Scarring and inflaming can't get better on its own on a spinal segment because there's no exercise that can get a spinal segment to move. So you can't heal or function without nerve flow and blood flow, which requires motion to stimulate both. What's the difference between an elbow and a spinal joint? Okay, if my elbow doesn't move, I know it. If my L1 right pedicle doesn't move, L2, L3, T12, T11, they'll take over. I don't have to know any of it. Does not go away, creates its own changes. No drug or exercise can improve it. All right, so these are documented benefits of walking 30 minutes a day. Okay, prevent obesity by 91% and diabetes. Prevent 50% of all heart disease. Reduce strokes by 30%. Reduce congestive heart disease by 63%. Hospital admissions 70%. Normalize blood pressure. Restore normal cholesterol. Reduce cancer 60%. Improve outcome from rheumatoid and osteoarthritis. Prevent osteoporosis fractures. Increases your immune system. Prevents Alzheimer's and dementia. Decreases being in a nursing home. Anybody know what the cost of being in a nursing home is? It's about $10,000 a month. Okay, if you need care. If you don't need care, you're probably $5,000 to $7,000 a month. Decreased body fat and obesity. Spinal joints are special. When you move them, you get to affect both sides of the brain. Okay? When I pick this up with my right hand and do this exercise, my left brain's engaged. If I do this one, my right brain's engaged. But it's not connected to both. Even if I do this, it's not connected to both. My right brain and my left brain are engaged. If I do this, both hemispheres are synaptically engaged. It's important for learning, it's important for health, it's important for proper responses. Spinal joints are the only joints that are designed to be stable and movable at the same time. Because you want to move this direction, but you want to prevent other type of movements. So other joints aren't ever designed to do that. If I have to move this, I have to relax all the muscles attached to it except for the one trying to move. If the input to the brain is abnormal, then the spine is not prepared for proper function, just like lifting the chair, and then they can't, what's that? Yeah, spinal joints, unlike elbow joints, can't be consciously moved. I can't say, L1, move. It doesn't work. Okay, I can move my elbows, but I can't move a spinal joint segmentally. Modern humans, okay, fast forward in 20,000 years, we sit a lot. Modern humans need chiropractic, okay? Our joints are just stuck. All right, thinking right. We're genetically designed to seek pleasure and avoid pain. It's different than optimism and pessimism. Optimism and pessimism are designed for worry and planning, okay, having hope and stuff like that. We're the only animals that don't think the weather's important. We don't think politics are important. Facebook's important, okay? The question to ask when you get all pissy about your Facebook post is this really a threat to my survival? Okay? I mean, we had a lady in last night, said, I'm just under a lot of stress. What's stressing you out? My 4 kids. Okay? So ask this question when they're running around and screaming and stuff. Is this really a threat to my survival? And you have to answer yourself out loud. No, it is not. So you can hear yourself's voice So you can believe yourself, because who, do you trust more than yourself? It's probably not a threat to your survival unless you worry about it over and over and over and over again, creating these negative thoughts, and then you're under stress for a chronic period of time, and now you're threatening your survival. All right, emotional reactions to the same stimulus may differ. Okay, so if I have a 15-year-old girl, got this construction worker dad, she's in room 1. I got this 28-year-old girl, her and her husband are thinking about having kids. She's in room 2. We got this 64-year-old girl. She's a grandma of 4. She's in room 3. And I go to each one of them, and I give them the exact same stimulation. Hey, congratulations, I hear you're pregnant. You're gonna get 3 drastically different responses. Okay? She's running away from home. She's hugging and kissing you like you got her pregnant. And she just died of shock. Now, negative events deserve negative reactions, okay? If I lose my dad, if I lose my dog, if I have a fight with my wife, if I, have the Chiefs lose in the Super Bowl, I'm gonna cry, okay? But it should be temporary, okay? I shouldn't let a negative reaction determine my reaction to everything else in the future. You shouldn't bottle up your reactions, you should let them get through. Going out and skiing or meditating or just doing something that's a hobby that you like to do, put that back into your life. Thinking right again, remember during fight or flight you're looking for bears, okay? I'm looking for that threat. Even if I got away from the bear, I'm still looking for the next bear, okay? We see a lot of people with car crashes. When they first get in car crashes, they're petrified to drive. They're thinking of the next car crash, whether it exists or not. So we're thinking for bears. We're looking for bears, especially those guys. Man, look at those. And that guy, he knows karate. You train your nervous system to be anxious. Okay, if you keep looking for bears, you keep looking for the negatives, you will find them whether they exist or not. You have literally anchored your nervous system. They were wired. It's just like the orange dessert. If I see the orange dessert, I am now genetically wired to salivate and crave whether I'm hungry or not. If you're thinking about anxious things, negative things, you are now wiring that to be more efficient at finding the negatives. And you'll create a negative feedback because you're already stressed, you create more stress, you found another negative to stress about, and you're just getting worse. When you think positives, you decrease the negative hormones associated with worry. Positive thoughts lead to healing and preventive benefits for every chronic illness. Unfortunately, this is one of the hardest aspects of life to change, okay? Number 1, we don't recognize we're doing it. And number 2, when we decrease our thoughts and reasoning, that's part of the stress response. We can't be concerned about my stock market if I'm fighting a bear. I can't think about what to buy grandma for her birthday if I'm fighting a bear. I can't think about future consequences if I'm fighting a bear. And so I block off that part of my brain. I disconnect some of those synapses. So it's easier for me to be impulsive and anxious. Okay, if I'm fighting a bear, I want to fight the bear. I want to look for bears and fight that bear. I don't want to think about anything else. If it's not a bear and I'm blocking those thoughts, now I'm just making impulsive decisions. I can't avoid the cheesecake, okay? Because it's impulsive. I can't think about the consequences of the cheesecake down the road because I'm thinking about the cheesecake right now. Okay, we've become automated, okay? Everything is automated. We're on autopilot, okay? So I think I told the story last time. When you go to a chamber event, they have a bunch of donuts and pastries. And we had a guy there that had already told me he's diabetic. And when I went to one of them, he had this big old cinnamon roll. And I just said, hey, Bill, you want that cinnamon roll? And he just looks at me and he's like, what? Why would you ask that? And he looks at the cinnamon roll. And I was like, huh, maybe I shouldn't have it. I said, I don't care. And I walked away and he threw it away. Okay, he forgot he had a choice to not pick it up because he's so used to picking it up. We need to take back our choices. Where do I get on the carousel? It doesn't matter. You pick a positive choice and pretty soon the next positive choice becomes easier. How we think determines how we're going to act. Okay? We get our behaviors from our mothers, fathers, teachers, and preachers. Okay? And they teach us at a very young age when we're developmental. We don't have the cognitive reasoning to question it. And so pretty soon it just gets hardwired, and that learned behavior pattern says, oh, I always get cinnamon rolls. I'm just going to get a cinnamon roll. They don't have a chance to think differently if you don't teach them differently. And we also see that health is not accurately portrayed, either from our patients that believe one thing or another, or our doctors that believe one thing or another. It's not always necessarily healthy. It's based upon their own teachings. Thinking right is the ability to identify and choose all the positive, fabulous, wonderful, different adjectives for your beliefs and attitudes. Internal dialogue, okay, so Bruce, we were talking about everybody thinks differently, okay, and that includes their internal thoughts, okay, so the average person speaks 2,000 to 6,000 words a day out loud, okay, women are really up there at the 6,000. Carrie tells me I speak like 10 a day. And we all think about 100,000 words a day. Okay? Now, the thoughts are either going to be positive or negative. Okay? Rarely do we have neutral thoughts unless we're singing a song. Singing a song actually has been shown to decrease stressors because you're not thinking about one worry or another. So are your inner dialogue thoughts? What do you tell yourself? Are they negative? Oh man, I'm a big piece of shit. Oh, I can't believe I do that. Oh man, I can't believe I dropped that. Oh, I got something on my shirt. Oh man, what do we tell ourselves? Okay? Or what else do we tell ourselves? I don't need to work out today. I'll work out tomorrow. I'm gonna have salad for lunch. Ooh, pizza. You know, what do we tell ourselves? Are your thoughts improving your life, or are they making it worse? Okay, remember, wild animals, even nowadays, not even 20,000 years ago, they don't need willpower to survive and thrive. Okay? Neither should we, but we now have to because we're being bombarded with temptations. Changing our thoughts is an exercise of willpower, and just like any other exercise, if I want to learn how to run a marathon, I can't run it tomorrow. I have to build my body to do so. It will change my nervous system to make me more efficient. My thoughts have to be exercised, and my willpower has to be exercised to be more efficient. To when I see that cinnamon roll, I don't just automatically pick it up. I can say, push those cakes away, even though they're really tempting. Okay, choosing what to eat, how to move, what to watch, who to believe, what you allow influences you. Okay, we got a lot of influences in this world. In fact, there's an actual job called an influencer now. They just post videos of themselves putting on a pair of shoes. Watch me put these shoes on and like my page. Okay, so is that who's going to influence you? Why is it so hard to make healthy choices? All right, so let's go back into the stress. Okay, if we have increased stress, we get our stress hormone. When we have our stress hormone, it increases inflammation to our entire cells. Inflammation decreases the use of our prefrontal cortex, where our empathy and compassion and the high learned reasoning comes from. If I can't think correctly as well, I can't make that choice as well. I can't push away the cheesecake. Therefore, I will get worse healthy choices, which means I will eat worse, which means I will have more stress, and now I have a negative feedback loop. Neuroplasticity, that's a big word that says your nervous system changes all the time. Okay? Has anybody ever tried to meditate? Yeah? Okay, so 2, that's it. 3, I'll look at you. Yeah. Okay, so then you guys all sit on a volcano with lightning bolts coming out of your cheeks. You didn't do it right.
That's right.
So, many people, they say, well, I tried meditating once and it didn't work for me. Right? Okay, so I did that. You know, I read a book and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that. And then it's like, that didn't work. Has anybody ever gone snow skiing? This is what I looked like when I first started snow skiing. I was a pretty cute young girl. I wasn't very good at that either the first time. Okay? What would happen if I practice it? Could I get good at it? Yeah, what would happen if I practice meditation? Could I get good at it? What happens is those nervous systems actually go together. What fires together will eventually wire together. Okay, so if I wanted to learn how to go golfing, the first time I could hold it like a baseball bat and swing it like a baseball. Okay, and it's probably not going to do very good. But then if people teach me and I start doing things and I start training, every time I'm firing that, and I'm firing them all at the same time, pretty soon my nervous system recognizes that when I grab that club, you guys are now all connected. Okay, you're a team. You are going to work together efficiently. You are literally wiring your nervous system completely different. So it benefits you on some things. It can be devastating on other things. You will literally wire yourself different to make your pain more efficient. You will tell your body, your brain, everything causes pain, so we're just going to make it easy for everything to cause pain. Even if it's not supposed to cause pain, we just want it to cause pain because we're really good at changing. Okay? But if I practice the good things, I will get good at it. That's me now. Believe me. I mean, I know you can't tell, but trust me. All right, we need to recognize we have choices. Okay? That's the biggest thing, awareness factor. Okay? We are now becoming aware with this class what stress is doing to us, and I actually have a choice. I don't have to pick up the cinnamon roll. I can get up and exercise. I can get up once an hour and do some movements. Are they logical, moral, and healthy? Okay, well, logical, it needs to make sense to you. Now that you know things, what questions do you ask? Dimitri, your blood pressure's a little high, I'm going to put you on this pill. Don't ask questions, I'm the doctor, you just take that pill. Well, is that pill going to make me healthy? Well, of course it's going to make you healthy, it's lowering your blood pressure. No, I want to know if the pill is going to make me healthy. What's the studies show on my health? You now have the ability to think logically. Does that logically make sense? If my blood pressure is supposed to be high for a certain stress, wouldn't it make sense to swim upstream a little bit farther and see where the stress is coming from instead of falling over the waterfall of a disease and then just putting on a life jacket and dealing with the turbulence? That doesn't sound like a fun way to live. It's not a matter of liking it, okay? Brussels sprouts are great. Carrie ate Brussels sprouts. Did you guys see that on the news? My wife ate Brussels sprouts. It's on the news. And it doesn't always make us feel different. Okay? Oh, I tried meditation, it didn't work. Oh, you know, I tried fish oil for a week. I didn't feel anything. You know, it's not a matter of making you feel something different. It's a matter of the knowledge, knowing it's what your body needs. We're trapped into the idea that we can avoid it and be okay. I'll just wait till I have a problem, I can take a pill. The doctor said, the commercial said, I want to look like that guy on the beach. I'm going to take that pill. But once we make one good choice, we will start to rewire the brain to make better choices easier. And that's the key. Make one good choice. We're giving you some simple ones in front of you. Okay? Supplement with high quality omega-3, vitamin D, and a multivitamin. Eat fresh fiber first. Drink 80 ounces of water. Eventually remove one of the toxins. Okay? Eventually. That doesn't have to be the first thing. It's tough to take something away that you really like. But when you start doing something that's really good for you, your body makes it easier to do those things. Okay? Walk 30 minutes twice a week if you can. Okay? If you don't walk 30 minutes twice a week right now, say it in your mind what days of the week you're going to. What time of the day are you going to? Put it in your digital, logical, neurological, calendar. I'm going to do it Mondays and Wednesdays. If you tell yourself, now it's a plan. You may not keep the plan, but if you didn't make the plan, it's a lot easier to fail the plan. Do spinal warm-ups each morning, okay? We just did some of those, okay? Do your I want to live longs every day. Do your deep squats every day. Get up at least once an hour if you can and do some of those, just so to avoid the prolonged sitting. Get regular chiropractic adjustments for your segmental motion. Once a month prevents the adhesions and inflammation. If you don't have a chiropractor, you can't be healthy. I'm not saying that chiropractor is the only thing for healthy, because if you see a chiropractor every single day and you eat like crap and you never exercise and you worry all the time, you will not be healthy. I don't care how good that chiropractor is. When you wake up, smile and think of something you're grateful for. Say it out loud if you want to, but smile and think of something you're grateful for. Force the smile on your face, and eventually you'll wire that to where when you wake up, that smile will be there, just automatically. Make a plan for events that require choices. I'm going to this wedding. I know there's going to be a ton of food and alcohol. What's my plan? I'm going to dance. I better have some alcohol, right? Try to live in love, not live in fear, okay? If you're always concentrating on yourself, you're living in fear. I'm worried about what they're going to say. Am I going to do this right? Am I going to do this right? I need this, I need that, I need this. If I'm worried about other people, you know, what do they need? How does that person feel if I do this? You're living out of love, and you have more empathy, and you have more joy in your life because that's self-serving. Minimize the non-essential external stimulus, okay? The TV, social media, negative messages, okay? The average American spends 6 hours a day looking at a screen. Recognize negative behaviors and correct them early. Try not to let them become a pattern, okay? If I sit all day long, try to recognize, oh, I've been sitting more often than I used to, okay? It's really easy to get into a different rut based upon lifestyle events if something significant changes, even if it's as simple as there was a holiday on the Monday. Mondays when I work out, but I got to sleep in because I didn't have to go to work, so I didn't work out that day. That can literally knock you out of your rut or knock you out of your plan. And before you go to sleep, smile and think of something you did that day. What did you trade your day for? Okay, remember, you don't get yesterday back. You won't get today back. I hope that this couple of hours was something worth trading for. Okay, for me, I'm really happy I do it because I want that awareness in this community to understand that they have choices to be a little bit healthier, and that makes them a little bit, more tolerant to Dr. King. 6 hours a day, 22 years of your life looking at a screen. Okay, so what should you do? If you plan on looking at a screen, designated amount of time you're going to do it. I'm going to go look up paint color for the office. Okay, I have a plan. And it's going to take me 15 minutes to do that, okay? So instead of 6 hours today, I'm going to do 15 minutes, okay? I'm not going to get distracted. I have intention, okay? I'm only going to look that one thing up. I'm not going to say this pop feed leads me over this direction. I'm going to order Papa Murphy's. I have mindfulness, okay? I am intent on doing this. I'm, focused. Mindfulness. And did I get enrichment from it? Okay, so if I'm looking at paint, it's not necessarily that I'm going to get enriched, but at least I got a job done. But if I'm on there just looking at social media, when I'm done on there, did I feel like it really enriched my life? Okay, and so those are questions you have to ask yourself. If it didn't enrich your life, then why are you doing it? Why do you feel the need to know what that person had for breakfast today? Okay, I remember when Facebook kind of first started, my nephew would say, oh, Josiah's wearing a collared shirt. Right? It literally said that. Who gives a shit, Josiah? Get a job. Post that you got a job and we're going to give you a thumbs up. And remember, if you're on the screen, you're probably not doing something else healthy. All right, if you're not living a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, you need a chiropractor. There's no food, drug, surgery, exercise that reestablishes segmental motion of the spine, and it's the only way to make sure that lack of spinal motion doesn't lead to chronic illness. 60% of Americans are overweight. Okay, so now our weight loss program. For anybody that's interested, cost of being overweight. $4,800 for women, $2,600 for men every year. $8,600 and $6,500 if it gets to a loss of life. Somebody last class asked, why the difference? Why is women so much higher? And so I looked it up. And I thought it was going to be because women go to the doctors more because men are stupid. But it's not. It's because, and this is disgusting, it's because obese women get paid less than thin women. Is that disgusting? I think it's disgusting. All right, so our weight loss program has two approaches. One is a nutritional thing for 6 weeks, and one is an LED external stimulus to melt fat cells, okay? And so the 6-week program, we give you supplements, and it simulates what's called the HCG diet. So it's taking your liver and trying to tell your body to create growth hormone. So you can live for 6 weeks on much less calories. Allowing your liver to decrease its stress load. It's not getting the same nasty fuel sources coming in, and allows it to decrease its stress loads more efficiently. You eat real fruit, real meat, real vegetables, and you drink a lot of water. And you will lose weight. And you will feed your cells the things you're supposed to feed. And you will get into the habit of how to shop, cook, and eat real food. So the LED lipo, okay, looks like this. You just sit on there for 7 minutes, okay? The stimulation of those lights will tell your fat cells for about 3 inches deep to open up the pores of the cell. And that membrane pore will let the fat material, which is triglycerides, glycerol, and water, to come out of that cell, and then the cell shrinks down, okay? We're born with the same number of fat cells, and they can either get bigger or smaller. And for most of us, they get bigger. We don't want to go Sono Bello and have somebody destroy them all, because they won't come back. And if I destroy all my fat cells, or part of my fat cells, and then I don't change my lifestyle, I'm gonna get fat back in my cells. But those cells aren't there anymore. So I'm gonna get a glob of fat here, okay? And then a glob of fat there, a glob of fat here, and it's just gonna be very unnatural, and then I'm gonna have to go get them all cut out. Okay, so it's not a very safe way to do it. This is safe, it doesn't destroy the cells, it stimulates your fat burning hormones, and it decreases your size. Within 7 minutes. We've had some people that lost 3 inches in 7 minutes. Okay, but if they don't change their lifestyle, it'll come back. But if they do it with our nutritional plan, in 6 weeks, we'll guarantee you lose 20 pounds. All right, it has to work. Yep. We've seen extreme weight loss. Okay, so this was a lady that came in right after we started the weight loss program. She came in and she gave us permission to do this. And she came in for a car crash. And what I worked with her first is, Emily, can you say in the mirror that you love yourself? She says, I don't know in the mirror. I said, well, why not? She says, I can't stand myself. And so that was touching. And so that was the first thing we worked on. And then we said, hey, we got this program. And so she learned how to eat correctly. And within the first couple months, and she only did the program for a bit, for the first couple months, just because she kept on the knowledge that she got, she lost 20 pounds. And then she lost 50 pounds. And then within a year and a half, she came back and she had lost 150 pounds.
Wow.
She owned lots of mirrors. Okay? She wore a wig because she hadn't grown her hair back yet, but she was beaming and she loved herself. Okay? That was pretty important. And this other guy, I don't know if I look much different now. I'm hoping I do, because when I look at that, I'm like, oh my God. But then when I look at other pictures, I'm like, oh my God. I don't really see the difference. But that was me before I started the plan. And I lost 26 pounds the first 6 weeks. So we know it works. Okay, basic plan, 6 weeks, you get the supplements, weekly office visits for 6 weeks, and then maintenance visits every 2 weeks for another 6 weeks to make sure that even when you're off the plan, you're doing your learned behavior patterns. If you add the LED lipo twice a week to the 6 week plan, we will guarantee you 20 pounds lost in that 6 weeks, or the next 6 weeks is free. And if you sign up tonight, 30% off any normal or prepaid program. Read it yourself. And an additional 4 LED sessions. Okay, so that gives you 10 weeks of LED instead of 6 on top of that. Okay? And you will also tonight, for anybody that's not a patient, you will get a free exam and consultation at our office for chiropractic, and any x-rays for only $49. If you are a patient, this gives you the opportunity to give it to somebody you love that you now know has a spine. They are not a hunter-gatherer. They live in 2020, and they need a chiropractor. Okay? Everybody gets one free weight loss consultation and a LED lipo session for anybody that just wants to try it. Say, hey, you know what, that sounded really interesting. I want to see what that does. And you'll lose interest, immediately. And you now all have free knowledge how to live right for your species type. All right? So before we do that, I want to show you one thing. This little 1-minute video.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
Pretty powerful message. Okay, everybody's got their last 10 years. We don't know when they're going to start. Okay? And so you get to make a decision. What do you want them to look like? Okay? My mom, years ago, every time we'd go over to her house, she'd make all of us family one meal, and then she'd be bitching about her diet that she made for herself. And she'd always complain about it. And I remember one Christmas, I was just about to say something. And she said, but as long as it keeps me off those medications, I'm gonna do it. And I just like, we all have that goal, okay? What is your goal? You know, are you wanting to be the grandma that gets to play with their kids? Are you wanting to be the grandpa that gets to teach them how to fish? Or do you want to be the one that they don't want to go see because the hospital smells funny? Okay? What is it worth changing for? Look at those guys. I don't know who they are. They're not mine. But they're cute. And what are they eating? That's pretty I don't remember. All right, so you guys got a bunch of easy steps in front of you. I hope, I want you all to fill out your questionnaire, if you don't mind. Fill it out. When you turn it in to Bonnie over here, she'll give you your free lipo session, your free consultations. Any questions at all tonight? Is anybody awake?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick one. So on the cholesterol and the statins, so is there has, on the cholesterol, it hardens your arteries if it's way too high for way too long, or it's not. I mean, there has to be a reason they want it down, and they say claim it's for heart disease, right?
That's correct. So the question was, why do they put you on cholesterol medication? And their logic makes sense. Their medical algebraic pattern. Okay, so back in the 60s, they did a study, and they took rabbits, and they injected the rabbits with dietary cholesterol. And within, a certain amount of time, the rabbits got plaquing on their arteries. And they said, we figured out plaquing on the arteries is from dietary cholesterol. And so they all made these drugs. How do we make that dietary cholesterol go down? But then what they forgot to recognize was rabbits are vegan. Dietary cholesterol only comes from meat. So those rabbits had no chance to conjugate that cholesterol into something productive. They did that same study about 20 years later on dogs. No plaquing. No publication.
So what is the level of cholesterol when you're looking at their charts?
So
Standard, I guess.
So this depends on the question asked. If the question is, what level should I be at before you give a medication? They've lowered it again from 200 to 180. In fact, I had a gentleman who was at 170 that said, well, we should probably put you on it anyway. just prophylactically, just in case. So they're always wanting you to do it, and they're trying to make it as a preventative basis.
I think right now they're saying like 120.
Yeah, and maybe even lower now.
Yeah.
Science
Yeah.
tells you a healthy level, especially as we get older, should be at 270. Okay, that is essential for brain function.
Wow.
Okay, that's what science says. And science literally says that you will die in a wooden box with a belly full of pills and low cholesterol faster than you would if you had high cholesterol. That's what science says. Okay, so again, swim upstream. Why is my body producing the cholesterol? Okay, well, my dad's got extremely high cholesterol. I have probably a familial aspect to it, which means that somewhere in my blueprint, I have a light switch that says if I do certain things, it'll be much easier for me to get high cholesterol. Okay, so I have to be a little bit more diligent on that. But the medical algebraic model is we believe that cholesterol creates plaquing. Therefore, if we decrease cholesterol, we eliminate plaquing. Okay, A plus B equals B plus B.
Right.
What really happens is the plaquing comes from sugar. Sugar makes chronic inflammation. It makes it easier for garbage to attach to it. Okay, it's just like the plaquing on my knee. If my knee is bent and I have to create a bigger callus and more hardened tissue to meet that demand, the demand of the chemistries in my body have to change my vessels to meet that new demand of those chemistries. Anything else? Fill out your things, talk to Bonnie, go hug your family, and hope to help you in the future.